Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, the ups and downs, and how to navigate life with kids on your own while keeping sane. Covering subjects such as domestic violence through to fussy eaters and solo dating. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. This week's guest has overcome abuse, teenage pregnancy, and homelessness. She's been on a journey of self-discovery and uncovered her passion for helping people and seeing them succeed in their own lives. She uses her core methods to teach women the various ways to unleash their highest level of potential and talents. She also has been featured in Be Your Own magazine and as a guest on Entrepreneur Podcast Network. A single mother of 3 girls, she definitely knows how to juggle the challenges of being a single mum and trying to hold down a career. Hi, Kimberley. Welcome. How are you today?
I am amazing. And I know it's day for you, but it's really night for me. So
I know. Sorry. Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, I'm calling you in the States, aren't you? You're in the States.
Absolutely, in Florida.
Yeah. Sunny Florida. Yeah, no, cool. Look, hey, there is so much to talk about regarding your journey and where you've been and where you've come from, like overcome abuse, teenage pregnancy, homelessness, and now you're like helping other people. It's like, this is an awesome story. Tell us about your journey. What happened?
Yeah. So, I think at a young age, we all start out having these amazing dreams and having these things that, you want to do with yourself. And then somewhere along the line, you make these decisions and life just takes over and you kind of fall down a slump where you don't know how to dig yourself out of. So for me, in my case, it was I left high school, was going to go started college, found myself, pregnant with my first daughter. Was in a relationship with her dad for a good four years or so, went through a lot of emotional and physical abuse, moved out, had to leave him in like the middle of the night and ended up just going through the waves and the motions of just, falling down a pit, almost like a pit that I couldn't really pull myself out of. It was super tough. And of course, along the way, I had my other daughters and, really went into homelessness and just not eating and making sure that they ate and, just so many different things. I could really go down a whole rabbit hole of just, a series of bad events that happened over the course of years. And then one day I after I had my last daughter, I just said, this isn't what I planned when I was, younger. This isn't what I wanted my life to be at all. It was like a wake up call. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And then after that, I just went on like a real mission just to kind of pull myself out of the hole that I had really dug myself in for years. Some of it was I didn't know how to get to where I wanted to be. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know any of it. Right. It was just so hard. And I didn't really have like familial support to say, hey, do this or try this or anything. It was really just myself going ahead and doing it. I had great friends that helped out where they could. But apart from that, it was really just me figuring it out and just kind of going down, pulling myself out of that hole. And it took years to actually do that, and now I'm at a place that now I can go ahead and I can help other women, not only pull themselves out of whatever hole that they're in, but really kind of, go through their own journey of figuring out what they're passionate about and what they want to do with their lives to help them succeed. And of course, to really bring out their purpose for profit. Right. So that's really where
look, and I recognize that being in a hole because like you sort of come out of it and you're stuck with trying to continue the norm with the children and stuff like that, but it's just a cycle. I mean, I found with myself, it just was same every day, trying to just survive and trying to get through from morning to night, with staying sane and making sure that my child was sane and also my child was fed and looked after. And yeah, like didn't have any support. I mean, did you have family, or I mean, you said friends, but did you have any family? Were you like in a different state, or?
No, I was actually in the same state, and my family came from the notion of you had kids at a young age, you're gonna have to figure this out.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
they didn't, I don't think they knew obviously I had kids, but I don't think that they really came around for quite a few years. Just kind of, you got to figure this out. And a lot of the things
Yeah.
that I went through, I was so ashamed to even bring to them or to even tell them everything. And quite frankly, they don't know a lot of this stuff. Because it was just so hard for me. It was a sense of shame, that I felt that I brought on. And so, yeah, I really just had friends to really lean on,
Yeah.
for the most
And
part.
I've got to say, I've talked to a lot of women, and men actually. I mean, and unfortunately, a lot of the men don't want to then come on board to a podcast and talk about, and I suppose it goes down to the shame sort of aspect as well. They don't want to come on board and talk on a podcast, which is unfortunate because they're ashamed of it or whatever. But I've talked to a lot of people, right? And I think domestic and emotional, well, domestic abuse does affect everyone from all different walks of life. There's not like any genre. So it's not like the lower classes, the middle classes, or the upper classes that have this. It affects everyone, no matter what background, no matter what area you've come from, what what where your family's economic, sorry, it's a Monday morning, so my brain's trying to work now. I need another coffee. Whatever economic background you come from, it doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't matter. None of that. I always find that I think people that abusers have things that they have to work on themselves within themselves, and people that have been the victim of the abuse now have to go ahead and attempt not to pass it on to their kids or
Yeah.
their loved ones, and they have to work on themselves as well. Not that they necessarily did anything because they're the victim, but that they are the ones that now have to work on themselves eternally to, bring to kind of go back to who they were. I will tell you that my confidence was shattered. My just a lot of things were really shattered, right? And
Yeah.
I had to, it took a lot of therapy, counseling, and a lot of work within myself to really kind of go back to saying, this is who I was before all of this abuse and whatever else. And now I'm a bit mature, and this is who I get to be in that process.
So what was your turning point? What was the one thing that you thought, I can't do, like, I've got to stop. This has got to stop. What was that? Was there a one key thing?
Yeah, so I actually have quite a few. If you've ever listened to Steve Harvey, the talk show host and the Family Feud
Oh,
guy, as
yeah.
most people say,
Yeah.
you will always have a turn back moment. And I will tell you, I have had quite a few turn back moments, but I think the camel that broke the back for me, was the one day that I woke up and was like, I am living in like my own personal misery. And this
Yeah.
is not how I wanted my life to be. And I sat back and I thought about it, and I remembered all those dreams that I had as a kid, and I cried.
Mm,
I
yeah.
cried because I couldn't believe that I went down this rabbit hole, and I couldn't believe it. I worked for years to pull myself out of that.
Yeah. And how you describe it as a rabbit hole, well, it's not a hole, it's like a warren, isn't it? Because you get
Yeah.
stuck in it, and then you're like running around all of these different tunnels trying to find the hole that brings you up and out and up to the surface.
Right.
Wow. So then you sat there and you thought, right, things have to change. So what did you do? What was your first steps?
So the first thing I did, if you believe it or not, is I looked up. Well, I had to do a self-evaluation of where I was in life.
Okay.
Sleeping on people's couches, occasionally in my car. My car was out for repo. Just all these different things. Like, couldn't afford to feed my kids.
With the kids, though, you were sleeping in your car with the kids.
With the kids. So it's like, okay, where am I now? Like, what I'm here now. Okay. We wake up, we realize you're here now. What can you do to get out of it? It immediately was like, find a job. Okay,
Okay.
find a job, no problem. Um, I wasn't working, or I was in and out of work, is what I should say. I didn't have something secure. So I just took any job that was paying something decent, and it was a 9 to 5 rather than, hours,
Yeah.
odd hours or overnight hours. Um, and then I said, okay, I got a job. I got some income coming in now. Car got repoed, right? Lights got turned off. So what do? You're like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna sleep here and I'm gonna figure this out. And again, I was blessed. I had friends. Slept at a couple friends' houses, eventually built myself up to go ahead and to get a place for us to stay in, right? Went ahead and just started to say, okay, this money goes towards this. I need to find another job because I'm so far down this rabbit hole. What else do I need to pay for, right? And that's really how this whole thing started. Then it went into, okay, you kind of have, the financial situation a little bit okay. What can you do to get you to the next level? Because now you need to make more money. What can you do, right? What can you sell? What can you do? What services can you offer?
Yeah.
Went into that and figured out, okay, I'm going to go back to school. I'll be in school for a couple of years. Ultimately, I wanted a degree anyway. Why not? Right. And then I went to school, worked full time, had my kids, eventually bought another car, just, barely keeping myself above water. But of course, just going ahead and, just maintaining as best as I could. Lights would get cut off every other week or something else would happen, but it was good that I had my own place, right? And now I went ahead and I started to get on, some government assistance. Okay, great. Just things just started moving, right? Once I started to get creative about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be, right? It things just started moving, and that's why this whole entire thing, I always tell people that action cures everything, and that's how I always remember it. If you're ever stuck and you don't know where to go, just
do something. Take
do
that
something.
first step. Yeah, and I've got to agree with you. Like one of my biggest fears when I went and left my son's father was, I was like, okay, this is it. This is me on my own now. Like, so I am the main breadwinner. I have to make sure that we have a roof above our heads, that there's light. And my number one concern was, right, as long as he has a house or somewhere that he can stay, it doesn't matter. We'll eat sandwiches for like a week or whatever, or we'll have candles instead of electricity. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff like that I sort of sit there and go, I mean, thank God. We haven't been in that situation where I've had to light candles and eat sandwiches for a week, eat cold food for a week because I can't, like, thank God. But it's like I sort of went through and went, right, what's my number one priority every month? To pay the rent or to pay the mortgage or whatever, to make sure that I always have a house for my son. And then we'll worry about everything else. Like, it's basically rent, food, and then everything else we'll worry about. So yeah. And and like you said, so like, wow, what was it like? And I've never been homeless, thank God. But like, what was it like with the kids? Because
oh my gosh,
I mean,
it was a nightmare.
How did they cope?
So I think that my oldest didn't realize what was really happening.
Okay.
So yeah, she just thought, okay, we're, sleeping in the car tonight, or we're having a sleepover at auntie somebody's house, or, something to that effect. It got to a point that I actually had to say, okay, babe, I need you to stay with your dad for a little bit because your dad had a house. So I need you to stay with your dad. And she didn't want to go. And I was just like, it's going to be better if you go. Okay. But I would still pick her up after school.
And how old was she?
I would say 5.
5, yeah.
And so she went, stayed with her dad. Ooh, I'm trying not to get tears here.
No, I know. Yeah, no, sorry.
But and then of course my middle daughter, she was born by this time, and she, she had no idea, right?
No idea.
They're babies. They have no idea.
Just,
but
And they're just resilient as well, aren't they?
And so what would happen is that there were nights that I had to work, because I also worked overnight. When I did work, I worked overnight at this one place, and at this grocery chain, I should say. And I would let her still sleep with the babysitter. So when I got off in the mornings, right, or not mornings, but like 3:00 in the morning, right, because that's the shift. When I got off, I would go pick her up. I'm sorry, I wouldn't pick her up until I would go sleep in my car, go park in front of the sitter and pick her up at like 6 or 7 in the morning, right?
So you got like a few hours sleep.
So I got a few hours sleep. And then I would go ahead and just get bright-eyed, bushy-tailed to the sitter. Hey, I'm here to pick her up, and just pick her up, and then, and then take her. And then when it was time for me to go back to work later on in the evening, I would go and drop her off again, right? That's kind of how I played the whole entire thing. And of course, I would shower at a friend's house.
Shattered.
Oh, it was rough. But looking back, it was rough. I don't even have a better way to describe it. It was just rough.
Wow, man. That would have been that would have been a nightmare. That would have, crikey. So, okay. So that was the deep, dark hole. And then you sat there, evaluated where you were at, and said, right, okay, I need to get a job. I need to get out. You went to college. So what did you study at college?
Yeah. So I went to a private college, because that was like the one that I could get in the quickest. Because at the time I was like, I'm going to hit the floor running, right? Didn't want to go to traditional school. So I went to, private school and paid for it daily with student loans, but that's a different story.
Oh my God. I know. Well, I think we all do, don't we?
Yeah. And so I actually studied, I got my bachelor's in project management. That's, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's what my day job is. So like, I completely, I completely know where you're coming from. Wow. Okay. And then what happened? So you went and got your bachelor's. How long did that take to get?
They said, oh, you're going to do it in 4 years. And I was like, no. I have goals. I'm going to do this in 2.5. 2.5.
Wow.
So there were times that I doubled up on classes just to get this done.
Oh my gosh.
I had goals.
You're so driven.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's and you had goals and 3 girls basically.
I had goals, 3 girls, and I was not going back down that rabbit hole. Like I wasn't.
No.
Right.
No. And I think that's it. And I also think when you make a decision, like I think the hardest part is actually to decide as well. I mean, I know you say like you need to take actions, but I think one of the first steps is to make that decision. This is not my life. I need to move and change. And then It's making that plan and moving and changing and not going back down to where you were.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was a part of my self-evaluation process. Like that part, once I realized where I was, and I was like, I'm not going back down that hole. So that was definitely part of my,
yeah. So, okay. So you got your qualification. Then what happened? Where did you go from there?
Still kept working. But I found that my mindset was not fully healed from the trauma that I had overgone or gone through, I should say. So I found that I was settling in my life. So it's like I got to a point where the bills were paid. There was a roof over my head. There was food in my house, right? I never had to worry about that. And I was off government assistance. I had a car that I could drive, and I got, I guess you could say, content, because it's much better than where I was. So it turned out that I said, okay, I'm better than where I was. I'm okay now. So I got content with just saying the bills are paid. We're safe. Right. I don't have, any abusers. We're safe. And I said, one day I sat down and just started to think about, I'm coming from so far. I'm just so blessed. And then I was like, wait, I wanted more. So hold on. This isn't it. I wanted more, right? There's a lot more that I wanted to do. There's a lot more that I wanted to get out there and do. And that's when I started, just really having that moment with myself. And I spent time with myself. This time it wasn't as traumatic as the last time, but it was okay. You are better than what you were, but what more do you want? Like I said, my confidence played a big role in going after things, because I wasn't going after the things wholeheartedly that I knew I wanted, right? My mindset was just, I don't, maybe it's not for me. And I just kind of, I did this talk about the lies that you tell yourself. And that's one of the lies that I told myself. And eventually it just got to, no, what more do you want? And let's go after it. Let's start making these goals. Let's start making these, these things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Let's make them come into fruition.
So what was one of the first goals that you basically made? Can you remember?
I don't know. Yeah, it was switch jobs.
Switch jobs.
Yes, I needed more money. I needed more income.
Okay.
Because again, I was safe.
Yeah.
But I couldn't take the kids to do certain things. Like I couldn't get I couldn't afford to.
Yeah.
Because I was safe, but that's it.
How many years had you been sort of safe as such? And had you done any work in that period of time on yourself? So had you done any counseling or, dealt with and overcome all of the things that get stacked up with regard to abuse and dealing with the homelessness and like how many years and what had you done?
So about 4 years is where I was from where I went, because even after I finished school, I said, okay, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm switching jobs and I'm going to get more money and, be able to do certain things. Around that third to fourth year, or maybe about 3.5 years to fourth year, I was like, wait. It started to, make me think about the more things that I did want and just kind of pushed them to the back burner until by the time that fourth year hit, I'm like, no. I definitely want more. That's where I started to really dive into therapy. That's where I really started to dive into personal development. That's where I really started to dive into just podcasts and just books, anything that I can get my hands on about the mindset.
Yeah. And look, there's a lot of free, it's not that you need to pay money to get this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of free stuff out there as well that's good. So yeah.
YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, YouTube's like the second biggest search engine compared with Google. So yeah, no, exactly.
Right.
Wow. Right. Okay. So it's quite interesting you say that, because I sort of find when I left the relationship I was in, it took me probably it's been 3 or 4 years. And it's about, like, I don't know, but I've found talking to people, it's like a 3 or 4 year period where you need to self-heal. It's almost like your healing phase, whether that be that you do it yourself with online things or whether you actually go to a counselor and talk things through and a therapist and talk things through. But I've found that, like, I'm now at the 4-year part. I don't know. I'm trying to think now. 4-year part. And now I've gone, okay, the podcast, I want to do something to help people. So podcasts, various different other things that I'm wanting to do. But I'm at that same stage that you were at, like 3-4 years down the line, where I'm going, okay. And it's almost like I've found myself back again. And you sort of go, I've done a lot of work in the last 3 or 4 years and a lot of education on various different things surrounding addiction, domestic violence, abuse, and various different things. And I'm still learning. But yeah, no, it's interesting you say that 3-4 year mark.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay. So get a new job so you could get more money. Where did you go after that then?
Ooh, okay. So then
journey. What emotional journey did you go on?
The emotional. Ooh, let's try not to get through this without any tears.
Yeah, no.
I know. I'll try.
I don't want to upset you.
No, because you sometimes when you relive this, it's like, ooh, it really was a lot.
Yeah.
So emotionally,
and you sort of forget, don't you, as well? You sort of just carry on and look towards where you're going to, and sometimes it's good to actually look back and actually understand where you've come from as well. I know, and it can be emotional. Yeah. No,
yeah, it is. It
Sorry.
is. Yeah. So what I did, got into therapy, met this amazing therapist. She was very just like very to the point and very matter of fact, and love her for that. Did a year, maybe 2 years with her. Did transformational coaching.
Okay.
Did transformational coaching. That was about a year, and that
What
was the game
so
changer. That's the
oh
game
was it
changer.
so what is transformational coaching?
So in this,
Just for people who don't know.
oh, that's fine. So in this particular instance, it was going ahead and coming face to face with all the things that have gone wrong or what you consider wrong in your life.
Yeah.
It was how to overcome those, realizing that you can't change the past, and then moving into masterful living, whether that's with or without mistakes, whatever it is, but actually living. So,
What's masterful living?
so masterful living is a term that they use in order to say, I'm going to live fulfilled.
Okay.
I'm going to live the way I want on my terms, as in I'm putting everything that I want out there and I'm doing it. I'm going after it 1,000%.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what masterful living was. And that was a huge game changer. Going back to, because it's three different parts, but the first part was overcoming those challenges, those demons, those, journaling, and just so much that you had to go ahead and you had to put out plenty of tears, lots of tears. By the second one, you're still going ahead and you're still putting out a lot of tears, but then realizing that you can't change the past and who you can be going forward, right? It's like who can you be going forward? And you go ahead and you work on that. And then by the
So are
third
you
one,
still with that one? Are you still journaling though? Because like
yeah.
I know you mentioned previously like journaling. What does journaling actually entail? Because I every morning write like 3 things I'm grateful for. What would make my day awesome and various different things like that. And so what's journaling? What was journaling for you?
So in that, and I've been journaling for years now. So
Yeah.
probably even while I was going through a lot of my abuse as well, I was journaling. If I go back and read those,
Oh, okay.
that'll
Oh,
send me on a
wow.
whole, yeah, because it's cleansing. It was what I was going through in these moments. So during the transformational coaching, the first part of journaling consists of actually writing down, or they would give you prompts, and it was writing down what happened or what do you think happened that went wrong, right? Wrong,
Okay.
or what you consider wrong in your life. And then it would go into, you know, what can you do to make it better? Can you change things? Right. And obviously the
So
answer is no.
assessing where you are. So
Yeah.
you'd already really initially done that, but
Right.
then it was taking it a step further and assessing, well, where are you? What had gone wrong, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough.
And then the second part was, okay, now that we know that you can't change the past and you can't choose this, what do you choose and who do you choose to be? And then the third part was, what do you want to masterfully live? And so I still journal to this day, but my journaling, I feel like, has transformed over the years. It's really
All right.
transformed, right? It went from being broken and battered and, demoralized to, really cleansing myself and cleansing my pain, to masterfully living as far as what I want to manifest in my life. And now I journal because I want to have these memories to look back on. I journal because maybe one day it'll turn into a book. Who knows? I journal because my kids may want to read it one day, the things that I was thinking. That's why.
Well, it's quite funny because when you were saying about journaling, when you were going through the situation that you were going through that wasn't particularly pleasant, and that's putting a light note on it. I did sit there, and when you were saying that, I went, wow, you could even put that all into a book.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know it would be an emotional journey for you, but it could be a book that could potentially help people come out the other side. But it's interesting. I've only been doing it for the last probably 2 or 3 years religiously every day. Well, I'd probably say 3 or 4 years religiously every day. And I don't beat myself up if I miss a couple of days, but like, yeah, it is like something that I have to do. So I'll get a coffee and I'll do it in the morning, and then I'll do it in the evening just to actually sort of try and pull together everything that's happened that day, and what have I learned? What do I need to do differently? What can I not change? Stuff like that. So it's interesting that you do it as well, because and I agree with you. I find it very cathartic, but I don't know if it's, and I don't know. So like, if there's anyone listening who's a bloke who wants to tell me that they do it, because I don't know if it's a female thing, but I feel as though I need to get, if I have it in my body and it sits in my body, it stews and I can't fix it. But if I get it out, either by talking to somebody or writing it down, it tends to get it clearer for me. I don't know if that's what you find.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely find that a lot of my visions and things that I want to do are wrapped up in the things that I go ahead and I write down as well. A lot of my things that I want to manifest are right there on paper already, long before I've even said it. It's actually really funny when I go back, and occasionally I'll go back and pick a random date, open a book and pick a random date, and I'll say, oh my gosh, I remember when I wrote this. It's so funny that actually came into fruition last year.
Wow.
Or that came into fruition 6 months ago or something. Yeah. Or that's in the works, right? That happens to me a lot.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, they do say, write it down. I keep writing down that I want to earn 150K a month, and that's not happened to me yet. But however, you never know, maybe in the future. Hey, look.
Get around the right people.
Look, it worked for Jim Carrey. What can I say? He wrote that check for himself, and look, so many years later, maybe I've just got to wait 3 years. Maybe I need to find out when I wrote this back.
Get around the right people, and it'll change.
But also it's interesting that you say so you were saying about looking back, and cause it came to me when you were talking about it, about releasing the past as such, about you accepting that you can't change things, and it's almost about accepting and releasing the past. So how did you go about that? Because wasn't that stage 2 or something? Is that stage 2?
And that was transformational.
It's really important.
Coaching. Yeah,
it's really, really important, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a part of the transformational coaching between, I would say, 1 to 2. By the end of 1 and you're moving into phase 2 of that, then that's where. But yeah, you realize that even what we said 10 seconds ago is the past. And I can't unsay something. I can't undo anything that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
And once you kind of start to process that in your mind, it's like, not only am I cautious about the things I say and I do and how I act with people, it is, I am going to go ahead and be who I am authentically, and just be mindful of the things I say, do, and how I act with people.
Yeah.
If you can follow where I'm going with that one.
Yeah, no, completely. Because I let go. It was very funny because over the years, I used to get very het up and very stressed because, there were situations out of my control that I couldn't control. So I used to get stressed about it. And at the end of the day, I think it might be my age, but I think I've mellowed in the fact that if I can't control it, if I can't control it and I can't change it because it's another person, it's another, it's somebody else's opinion or whatever. And it may be that it's somebody else's opinion based on what they've been through in their lives, which doesn't actually reflect on me as a person. It's just that it's what they've dealt with and what they've had to, it's their baggage that they're dealing with. So until I actually came to that realization, I didn't feel as though I had released myself from anything. It sounds really bizarre, but it is it's almost like releasing that stress, is releasing that stress and actually sort of going, well, that's one person's opinion, or, you know, I can't change that because I would desperately want to change that person's opinion, or, you know, and you can't, like, you know, you can try and influence them, but it's their opinion and it's based on their life's journey, not your life's journey, which could be potentially different. So, yeah, no, it's just, and I found that to be like a massive light bulb moment for me to actually go release that responsibility. I don't know. What was your have you had a light bulb moment? Because I'm such a different person now from how I was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Through that sort of light bulb moment, really.
Yeah. Well, I always have light bulb moments. I spend a lot of time with myself. So
I don't know how. You've got 3 girls. But
I spend a lot of time with myself, just thinking. So sometimes they'll come in and say, Mom, you know, what are you doing? I'm just thinking. You know, I don't have to have the TV on or the phone on, just thinking, right? And so I have a lot of light bulb moments. So there's so many I can go through.
Oh my gosh,
there's so many.
Well, but what's a light bulb moment that springs to mind like now? I would love to say what's your biggest light bulb moment, but like, I mean, if there's loads, then yeah.
Yeah, I'm like trying to think. I'm trying to think of like the biggest one. Here. I'm like, completely a big one. Yeah. So I have one that's fairly recent. So a lot of times, or throughout my life, I never understood my family. I never understood them, right? I've already said, like, my friends were more like my family. I never understood them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was having a conversation with one of my other girlfriends, and I said, I would rather have your mom than my mom. And she said, are you sure? And I said, absolutely. Your mom is like, you know, and I started giving her all these qualities. And she goes, yeah, but my mom's also a narcissist. I was like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, my mom suffers from narcissist personality disorder. I was like, that's a thing?
Oh, yeah.
And so she sent me on a whole tangent of going out there and reading and researching, because I didn't realize that this was like a thing. And it turns out that some of these personality disorders actually fall in my own family, and they're blatantly right there, but I didn't even know that they existed. I had no idea. Now, fortunately for me, and I mean, be very honest, we're all flawed in some type of way, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm no saint. But I will tell you that a lot of this that I see, it's like literally blatantly right in front of my face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and I don't think anybody else in my family has kind of woken up to seeing that what's going on, right? They're kind of like still in the dark, but I'm always on this higher journey, you know, trying to, you know, take my mindset and always challenge things, you know, always go one step further. So this was like, oh my God, what is going on? You know, it's almost like you woke up out of the Matrix movie. Like that's literally what I felt like. And so that's one big light bulb moment that I'm actually going through right now, because now I realize there's so many that my family have. Obviously not to put them down, they're amazing people, but there's so many there. But it's like, well, how did that affect me? Where in there did I go ahead and did I come up with anything? And it made me start to realize that in those abusive relationships that I had, that I actually attracted people that were narcissists, right? And so it's a whole rabbit hole that I'm kind of going down right now, is to digging out. And I'm like, oh God, I hope I'm not like passing on any traits or any things that I may have to my kids. Yeah. Right? And so
but I think half the battle is being aware. Yeah. So I think it's awareness. So like you say, like, none of us are I'm not perfect, right. You know, like, you know, none of us are perfect. We're all just trying to survive this journey that we're on, but it's the awareness of, I'm not I know that triggers me, or I know that, you know, I'm attracted to X, and actually trying to understand, well, what is it that X fulfills? What gap does X fulfill within me that means that I'm attracted to X, because there's something that I'm lacking that X is giving me, whether that be the I'm going to save this person syndrome, or whatever it may be. It's, you know, it's it's those sort of aspects that, and educating and being aware of it yourself, that you can move forward and hopefully, and I'm all for breaking that cycle.
Right.
Yeah, I do not want my child to go through what I've been through.
Right.
You know, it's my journey, it's my learning curve and all of that stuff. But yeah, you want obviously better for your kids, and you don't want to be passing on traits and things that you will do.
Yeah.
You will do. Let's face it. I mean, I think there's a book called How Not to Completely Fuck Up Your Kids. The swearing, but like, and maybe I'll have to bleep that out. But like, yeah, I think it's something like that, you know, says, look, we're all going to do it, but it's how you don't do it quite as much as like you would do normally, or whatever it is. I can't remember, and I will get the title, but yeah.
I've heard of that book.
No, wow.
I've heard of that book.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Oh, so you know what I'm talking about. I haven't read it yet.
Yes.
I've got it on my list of things to read. But yeah, oh, okay. No, that's cool. That's cool. So, okay. Wow. So you did stage 1 and 2 and 3. Is there a 4th stage?
No.
Or is it just 3 stages? There's just 3 stages.
Just 3 stages of transformational coaching. That was the game changer. And that was the amazing thing.
So where are you at? Where are you at now?
Peace.
Okay, yay!
Finally, I've gotten peace. I've gotten, you know, a lot of mental clarity. I've gone ahead. I've sat with myself, and now I'm working on where I want to be in my own, you know, my own business. What do I want to do? Who do I want to help? And you know, it's fulfilling, right? There's just so many. I always tell my friends, you know, because they're saying, well, how are you doing? And my answer is, I am blessed, and I'm at mental peace.
Yeah.
And that's just like the best thing ever.
Yeah. So tell me about what you're doing now then. So like, you've got a core method that helps you help other women to find this mental peace. Is that what you're doing?
No. No. So the core method that I actually use, it goes ahead and it helps women reach their highest potential.
Okay.
And as well as, you know, utilizing their talents.
Yeah.
And so CORE stands for clarity. Of course, gain that clarity. And that consists of meditation, sitting with yourself, really spending that time to figure out what it is that you want, organizing those thoughts. You know, what stages and what phases do we need to go ahead and do we need to actually do these things in order to get to where you want to be, your end ball game. It's revamping what overhaul or what change are we going to have to do to go ahead and to get to where we want to be for end game. Educating yourself along the way, right? Because we're not doing this blind. We're actually getting this done. And the last one is just to self-regulate, which is just you going ahead and having that self-discipline to go ahead and to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And so that's why it's called Cores.
Yes.
No, that's fine. Wow, that sounds like a lot of work to do to get yourself forward to where you need to go.
It's funny, I've actually been doing this for years. So in the midst of all my craziness of all of my journey of what was going on, I always distracted myself with, you know, helping other people or having conversations with people, because that's something I'm actually really good at. And it turned into helping these people, because people would say, oh, I wish I could do, you know, XYZ, or my favorite example, I want to open a coffee shop. And my answer would be, well, why can't you? Why not? Yeah. Why not? You're not too old. You're not too young. You're not too tall. You're not too small. Why not? And they would say, well, because I don't have the capital, or, well, it's a lot of work, or, well, it's a lot of this. And I'm like, no. You think it's a lot of work, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I would go through and help these, and it typically worked out to be women, right? Because as women, we tend to put our dreams on the back burner, right? And so it worked out that I would be helping these women, you know, bring their dreams into fruition. What do they want to do? So I would go home, do the research, you know, and turn up the next day and say, hey, listen, I put this stuff together for you. It's not as hard as what you thought. Look, here it is. And they say, really? And so we'd sit down over lunch during my lunch break, and we would have conversations about what they can do to get this one step further. Because it's almost like the minute that you open up a possibility, they were willing to listen and say, oh my gosh, tell me more. You're so right. I can do this. Oh, I could use my 401k, or I could do this, or I can maybe take out a loan, or whatever they can do to make it work. And so I found myself helping these women at my different jobs, saying, why not? Let's be open to possibility. And that's why I said I've been doing this for so long.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting. But it's interesting that you did it for all of those other people, but then it took a time for you to do it for yourself.
Exactly.
So, okay.
So what
stopped you? Yeah, I was going to say, was it just that? So did you have doubts that you couldn't do it for yourself? What stopped you from doing it for yourself for all that time?
Absolutely. I had doubts. I told you my confidence, my mindset. I had one abuser tell me that I'm not going to amount to anything in life, and I'm not going to do great things, and I'm not going to do just so many things that I was told. And because of that, it really just played on my subconscious. So I knew I was brilliant and genius in helping other people, but not myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, definitely. No, it definitely does. And I think it's that reptilian brain that we have that actually says, like, I know when I started this podcast that I was like, why am I starting this? This is crazy. I'm not trained in media. I'm not trained in anything. But I just went, sod it. I'm just going to start it and see where it goes.
Right.
And I'll do it. I've set myself a goal. I said, right, I'll do it for 2 or 3 years. If nothing's happened, that's okay. If I've helped one person, that's brilliant. If I've helped one person who's come on and been interviewed to actually then move forward with their lives, that's great. I'm just focusing on helping that one person. And if I have like 5 people listening to me, it doesn't really matter. It's about, it's if that one person is in those 5 people, who cares? Right. So, but there were times where I was like, why am I doing this? Yeah. This is insane. And nobody's going to listen to me, and nobody's going to want to come on, and all of these doubts that just stacked.
Yeah.
But I just kept sort of saying to myself, and I don't know if you did the same thing, but I just kept saying to myself, sod it, just do it anyway. Who cares? If it's going to fail, it's going to fail. But you then can say, well, you did it. Happy days. You can say, well, I did it. And like, okay, it failed. Yeah. What did I learn from that? So, yeah.
Right. I completely agree.
Yeah. So who's one of your biggest influences? Because you've been through so much. Yeah. Talking to you, you're just so driven and so positive and so so want to change things, and like you seem to be constantly goal setting and moving forward. So like who have been the big influences on you to shift your ass out of the hole and get you into where you are now? Who's influenced you?
I'm trying to think, where did I start? The very first book I read was given to me. Well, somebody told me about the book. The very first book I read was You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Oh, okay.
And I just thought, she is so right. This is so insane. I have people telling me this, but people would say, oh my gosh, Kim, you're amazing. Thanks for helping, blah, blah, blah. But it would just come in one ear and go out the other. And then when I heard her say it, I'm like, you were so right. And then I think another person that I listened to was Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, okay.
Eckhart Tolle. And that one was actually another book given to me. And I was like, he's really boring. But when I really just kind of focused on what the message was, I was like, this is it. This is so big. And those are like the first set of personal development and first things that I came in contact with that really shifted me into moving to that next direction and getting ahead. I don't have like one particular person that I listen to. I listen to everybody and a lot of things. And, unfortunately, I don't just have one, because there's so much information. Actually, one time I read an article that said, it was a business article that said, what I learned about the Jonas Brothers after watching their movie on Amazon Prime. And I was like, The Jonas Brothers. What is there to learn about them or learn from them, I should say? And when I
Yeah.
read the article, I'm like, oh, this is what we mean. Okay. They're very down to earth. They are very much, they're very much go-getters. They have a work ethic that's insane. There's just so many things. And I was like, okay, this is what you mean. But again, I take content from I take the information from everyone and from everything. There isn't like just different things. It'll pop up in my feed and I'll read it. You'll recommend a book and I'll read it.
Yeah, no, look, I completely agree. I mean, look, it's very bizarre, and you will know the guy that I'm going to talk about probably very well, coming from the States. But I had a friend of mine when I was, and this is a long time ago, when I was 26. So we're talking probably 20 odd years ago, dare I confess that. Give me a book. I was maybe I was younger than that. Maybe I was 24, 25. Give me a book by the God himself, Tony Robbins, and it was I can't even think what it was now, but something like unlimited power. Was it unlimited power or something like that? But he gave it to me like 20 odd years ago, and I've got a few of Tony's books, but then there's like Tim Ferriss, Rich Rolls. There's like so many other people out there. There's other, and I can't think of them now because they've gone off my head, but there's other podcasts that I listen to, and this is where I switch my mobile phone on and look at the podcasts and it's mainly podcasts because it's easier when you have children. You sort of like, it's easy to bung a podcast on, listen to it while you're doing the housework or whatever. But things like Simon
Sinek.
Oh, God love Simon Sinek. Like Simon. I said Simon as though I know him. Rachel Hollis. Kerwin Ray is an Australian over here who is similar to like Tim Ferriss and Tony Robbins as such. And then there's weird random people like James Smith, who's a PT guy who is an English PT guy, but he's just down to earth, tells it as it is, and swears like a trooper. But some of the things he says, it's just absorbing as much as you possibly can, I suppose. And positive messages.
Oh yeah,
positive messages.
I find that I put in. It's always positivity for me, right? Yeah. I always put in the information in, but I think if anyone's starting out, you would have to, because every one of them focus on different things. They all have different niches, but you just have to focus on, one or two that you may want to listen to and hone in on their message. Yeah. I think that You Are a Badass, Jen Sincero, definitely one of my first books and a good book to start out with. I also think The Magic of Thinking Big. That's another good book.
Yes, definitely. That's
another good book to start out with, and just kind of go from there. A lot of YouTube, a lot of podcasts, just different people that you can listen to really get information from. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, there's one, and I'm going to get the title wrong here, but there's one called Ego is the Enemy, which honestly,
I think that was. Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I think I've heard of that one. Ego is the enemy.
It really opened my mind to, probably because a lot of the time I'm based in because I work in IT as my day job, and I'm in a very male orientated environment. There are a lot of egos within that male orientated environment, although that's changing. But it was also looking internally at me and how I'm driven, and I like to be in control of situations and various different things like that. And actually got me looking at my ego and how my ego influences how I interpret situations, and to let go of that ego, because the ego is your enemy as such, and it can stop you from dealing with and being in situations that can be so educational for you, but your ego goes, no, you're better than that, or you don't need that, and it's your ego that says that. And it's also very good. It was a very good book at making me understand other people's egos, and the fact that people do things because their ego is telling them, oh, you need to do that, you need to look as though you're in control, or you need to look as though, instead of actually just releasing it and not having that ego. So that was an eye opener for me. Definitely. Wow.
Yeah. Eckhart totally talks about the ego, and that's how.
Oh, well, there we go.
That's how I started.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. So look, we like, if people wanted to get in contact with you and like have a conversation with you around your journey, around what you do now, and what's the name of your company that you've got?
So right now it's Forever Young Management Services.
Okay.
And so they literally would just have to go to, I'm on Instagram and I'm on LinkedIn. They will just click on the link in the bio. And from there, you would see a link that says Clarity Conversations. And it's a 30-minute conversation that we're going to have. You tell me what your end goal is. I tell you if I can go ahead and if I can assist you with that. We have a realistic conversation as far as what can happen, right? And then I will tell you, okay, we can go back and we can do, your own personalized plan, because realistically, we're all different people. So I like to give custom and customized plans to people as far as what they want to see happen, right? And again, my coffee shop example, clearly some things are going to be the same. The permitting of the place is going to be the same, right? The permits that we got to do, the licenses, we know that that's going to be the same, but how we're going to do it, what's the marketing going to look like behind it? Who can we get involved? Who's going to help out? How can we get this done? That's all going to be different. It's all going to be based upon that person. After I create that plan, then we get to have a further in-depth conversation for me to say, this, based on what you told me, here goes what I have for you. Let's have a conversation and you tell me you don't like, what you want to tweak, what you don't want to tweak. And we start definitely working from there.
Yeah. No, that's great. So do you have a website, or are you just on the LinkedIn, Insta?
Yep. Just on LinkedIn and Insta for now. The website is still in process.
No, I know. Don't go there. It's been months and I really need to sort it out. I've been homeschooling for the last 3 months. So I've been going, and note, the podcast is getting done every week, but the website, I'll have to wait until we all go back to school and I get some free time.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's good. So, okay, brilliant. Lovely. Fantastic. Thank you. So I have a final question for you. Final question. Ask this to everyone. It's interesting what answers I get come up. And I'll change it in a year's time when I've done this for a year. And so year 2 will have a different question. But if you had a superpower, what would it be? What would your superpower be, Kimberley?
I want super hearing.
Oh my God. Oh my God, do you?
Now,
okay. I don't want that.
So I don't want super hearing to hear what my neighbors are doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, that's why I don't want it.
No, I want to have super hearing to hear the things that happen in certain board meetings or certain rooms that unfortunately I don't have access to get into. And of course, I mean, like top level, high echelon type of meetings, right? Like a millionaire's meeting, right? Those conversations are definitely are not like our conversations.
Well, I don't know. Do you think? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I've
they all have to go to the loo and do stuff like you and I do,
of course. Oh, absolutely. But
it's on a bit of a different scale. Not obviously going to the loo, because that would be the same scale. But yeah.
But the mindset is different. The things, and I always hear, different podcasters and different people say it. The things that'll get you to whatever, level of money, then it's not going to be the next that's going to take you to the next level. It's always something new and something different to get you to that next level. So those rooms that I have not been, blessed and permitted to walk into yet to hear, what it takes to get to that next level, those are the rooms I would like to be able to hear in. Okay. I have always said I want to be a fly on the wall in those rooms.
Yeah. No, well, it would be really, really interesting. I think I'd want to delve into what was going on in their brains as well, because I think what comes out of their mouth is interesting.
Yes.
But what's going on and the thoughts and processes that they've got in their brains, and also, they're human, right? They're not aliens, right? These people are human. So they would be going through doubts and having internal conversations with themselves.
Right.
But it's about it's about changing that internal, my view, and I've learned over the years, it's about changing the internal conversation that you're having with yourself to be able to get to where you want to go, I suppose. And it would be interesting to hear their own internal conversations and how that differs from what comes out of their mouth as to what's happening in their body.
That's
and
a good
how
one.
See,
that's a good one. Because then
telepathy, then that would be telepathy.
Right.
I love telepathy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, telepathy, because then you can imagine what it took, or you can actually see what it took to get to where they are now. They had to overcome a lot, right? So
I think we'd be surprised.
Oh yeah,
I think we'd be surprised at because I don't think. Well, Elon Musk would be probably an interesting person too, because he's on the spectrum, so he looks at things completely differently anyway.
That's a good one.
To how you and I would look at maybe, but
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
I don't think there's no or I can't in his vocabulary at all. I think he just goes, yeah, no, okay, yeah, we're doing it. We just got to think of a different way, and that's what I say to my son all the time, because he goes, I can't do that, Mummy, and I go, no, that's not. You just got to think of a different way to do it. It's not that you can't do it, but you can't do it the way you're doing it. Think of a different way to get there.
Yeah, can't stand in my house. Yeah. I don't allow my girls to say can't.
No.
We find another way. Yeah, can't is not allowed. And so they used to get frustrated, but now it's, well, if I can't do this, well, what can I do to do this? So again, forcing them to kind of, reroute that thinking and get them where they need to be on track.
Oh, that's awesome. Look, thank you so much for giving up your evening, which is my morning, your evening. Thank you so much. I hope it's not too late where you are. But yeah, look, thank you for coming on board and telling everyone your journey, because it's been a pretty full-on journey. But it's great. You're at the other side as such.
Right,
the girls are doing really well. They're keeping you busy. You're in sunny Florida. Lucky you. I'm in cold Melbourne at the moment. In lockdown still. But yeah, no, look, thank you for coming on board and telling us all about your journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I always like podcasts that I can go ahead and I can, just have a very authentic conversation. And this was definitely one of them. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kimberley. It's been awesome to talk to you. Speak to you another time.
Absolutely. And that's it. I believe you're on socials. Am I correct?
I am.
Okay. I'll find you on socials.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah, no, we're out there. I've been ignoring them a little bit because with lockdown and a 5-year-old at home, it's just been a bit of a nightmare. But yes, I'm definitely out there. Facey, Insta, or YouTube. I post this up on YouTube as well, but not our faces. Yeah. Everyone will be pleased to know. It's all good. Brilliant. Okay, well, look, have a great evening, and don't work too hard.
All right, thank you so much. Bye. Have a great evening. Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you'd like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family on all the usual social media platforms that you're normally on. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content that I know you're going to want to hear, like this. If you want to check out past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources, and show notes, go to our website, www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey, and Twitter. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself, and remember, no one's perfect, and we're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single, and Human podcast.